If you watch football every Sunday, you remember these guys, not because they were loud, but because your team felt different when they weren't on the field. These are the most underrated players in NFL history, the ones we didn't appreciate enough until they were gone. Number 10, Kenny Anderson, Cincinnati Bengals. Kenny Anderson might be one of the most misunderstood quarterbacks in NFL history because when people think of elite quarterbacks, they think of Super Bowls, dynasties, and national spotlights. Kenny Anderson had none of that and still quietly played at an elite level for years. Anderson was the engine of the Bengals offense in the 1970s and early 1980s. He wasn't flashy. He didn't rely on arm strength alone. What made him special was precision, timing, accuracy, and decision making. Long before modern passing offenses became the norm, Anderson was already playing that style of football. He ran a quick release, rhythm based offense that punished defenses for overcommitted. He threw wide receivers open before throwing guys open became standard quarterback language. In 1981, Anderson won NFL MVP and led Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. That wasn't a fluke, it was the peak of a career built on efficiency and intelligence. But because he played in Cincinnati, because his team wasn't dominant year after year, and because his game didn't produce viral highlights, Anderson's legacy quickly faded. For years, he was left out of Hall of Fame conversations entirely, which is absurd. Kenny Anderson helped usher the NFL into its modern passing era and never got the credit for it, while others were celebrated for doing the same thing later. Number 9, Hines Ward, Pittsburgh Steelers. Hines Ward didn't just play wide receiver, he changed what toughness at the position looked like. From the moment he became a starter in Pittsburgh, Ward embraced the parts of football most players tried to avoid. He blocked linebackers without hesitation. He cracked safeties across the middle. He treated blocking like it mattered just as much as catching passes. But Ward wasn't just a hitter, he was trusted. Quarterbacks threw him into traffic because they knew he wouldn't flinch. When routes crossed the middle and defenders were waiting to deliver punishment, Ward ran them anyway. He took the hit, secured the catch, got up, and lined up again. Over time, Ward became the emotional engine of the Steelers. He set the tone early in games and enforced it late. He didn't just move the chains, he demoralized defenses by doing things receivers weren't supposed to do. His stats were strong, but they never fully captured his value. Ward's impact lived in moments that didn't show up in the box scores, sealing the edge on a run, springing a teammate loose, or making a catch that broke a defender's will. Championship teams need players willing to sacrifice ego for impact. Hines Ward built a Hall of Fame level career doing exactly that, and because his greatness wasn't pretty, it often gets overlooked. But in Pittsburgh, his legacy is cemented. Number 8, Steve McNair, Tennessee Titans. Steve McNair didn't play quarterback the way highlight culture prefers. He didn't glide, he didn't finesse, he endured. Every season felt like a survival test. Broken ribs, bruised lungs, ankle injuries that would sideline most players. And still, McNair lined up under center and carried teams forward. The Titans weren't loaded with offensive weapons. They weren't built to hide flaws. McNair was the offense, improvising, absorbing hits, and extending plays with sheer toughness. He shared an MVP award. He led Tennessee to the Super Bowl. He came up 1 yard away from winning it all. And yet, McNair's legacy often gets framed as gritty rather than great, as if toughness somehow diminishes skill. But toughness was his skill. He didn't play football comfortably, he played it honestly, and for an entire generation of Titans fans, Steve McNair didn't just represent the franchise, he defined it. Number 7, Antonio Gates, San Diego Chargers. Antonio Gates shouldn't have worked. He didn't play college football. He didn't come from a traditional pipeline. He entered the league raw, unrefined, and largely ignored. And then he forced the NFL to change how it defended tight ends. Gates brought basketball footwork to the football field. His ability to box out defenders, control space, and adjust to the ball made him lethal in the red zone. Linebackers were too slow, defensive backs were too small, and safeties were caught in between. Philip Rivers trusted Gates completely, not because of scheme, but because Gates understood leverage and timing better than almost anyone covering him. Plays broke down, Gates didn't panic, he drifted into open space. Before tight ends became centerpiece weapons, Gates was already putting up wide receiver numbers. He wasn't a product of a trend, he created one. And yet, for much of his career, he felt overlooked nationally because he didn't celebrate loudly. He didn't demand attention. He didn't fit the traditional image of a superstar. Antonio Gates didn't dominate conversations. He dominated matchups. Number 6, Rondé Barber, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rondé Barber's greatness didn't fit into one position, and that's exactly why it took so long for people to fully understand it. When Barber entered the league, defenses weren't built for versatility. You were a corner, a safety, or a linebacker. Barber quietly became all three depending on what the moment demanded. He could lock down receivers on the outside, slide into the slot, blitz off the edge, drop into coverage, or play run support like a safety. Offenses never knew where he was coming from, and that uncertainty changed how teams had the game plan. Barber wasn't just athletic, he was instinctive. He read quarterbacks like a veteran safety while maintaining the footwork and discipline of a top tier corner. Then there's the moment that defines an era, the 2002 NFC Championship game in Philadelphia. Tampa Bay, hostile environment. Late in the game, Barber jumps a route, intercepts Donovan McNabb, and returns it for a touchdown, sending Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl. Barber finished his career with 47 interceptions and 28 sacks, a statistical combination no one else in NFL history has ever been able to achieve. Because Rondé Barber wasn't loud, he was versatile, and versatility doesn't always get credit until the league catches up. Number 5, London Fletcher. Fletcher never missed a game in 16 seasons. That alone separates him from almost every linebacker in NFL history. Undrafted, overlooked, undersized, Fletcher survived in a league built to eliminate players like him. He did it with preparation, anticipation, and leadership. Fletcher didn't chase tackles, he arrived early. He diagnosed plays before they developed. He aligned defenses. He erased mistakes before fans even noticed them. Statistically, his career mirrors Ray Lewis more closely than most people realize. The difference wasn't production, it was spotlight. Fletcher didn't play on historical defenses, he was the defense. When he left Washington, the unit collapsed. That's not coincidence, that's value. Number 4, Torrey Holt, St. Louis Rams. The greatest show on turf is remembered like a firework display. But Torrey Holt was the metronome. 6 straight seasons with at least 1,300 receiving yards is not just consistency, it's dominance disguised as routine. Holt didn't overpower defenders physically, he dismantled them mentally. His routes were precise to the inch. His acceleration off the line forced corners to turn early. Safeties couldn't cheat because Holt punished hesitation instantly, while defenses tilted coverage towards Marshall Faulk and Isaac Bruce. Holt punished single coverage relentlessly. He didn't need manufactured touches, he earned every single yard. If Holt played today, analytics would adore him. Debates would rage about his peak. Instead, his career happened in a transitional era before constant discourse turned consistency into currency. The timing alone cost his legacy recognition. Number 3, Larry Fitzgerald, Arizona Cardinals. Larry Fitzgerald's career is one of the most difficult tests of greatness an NFL has ever seen. Not because he lacked talent, but because almost everything around him worked against his legacy. Fitzgerald spent most of his career with unstable quarterback play, constant coaching changes, and a franchise trying to figure themselves out. And through it all, he never complained, never demanded a trade, never changed how he carried himself. He lined up, he caught everything, he made chaos look functional. His 2008 playoff run stands as one of the most dominant postseason performances by a wide receiver in NFL history. Defenses knew the ball was coming his way, and it didn't matter. He took over the game on the biggest stage. What makes Fitzgerald even more staggering, how rarely he dropped the ball. His hands were so reliable that there were some seasons where he recorded more tackles than drops. That's not just skill, that's discipline. Fitzgerald wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, he didn't chase attention, he played the game the right way, at an elite level under impossible circumstances. Respect is universal, reverence is rare. Larry Fitzgerald deserves both. Number 2, Frank Gore, San Francisco 49ers. Frank Gore's career is one of the most misunderstood in NFL history because it didn't look special. Coming out of Miami, the concerns were immediate: knee injuries, long-term durability. The narrative was clear: talented but fragile. Instead, Gore became one of the most durable running backs the league has ever seen. He didn't rely on bursts, he didn't rely on speed, he relied on balance, vision, and an almost stubborn refusal to go down on first contact. Every carry ended up with extra yards that didn't show up in highlight packages but completely changed drives. Gore played through losing seasons, rebuilds, coaching changes, and quarterback chaos. He didn't need elite surroundings to produce, he was the stability. When he retired, Frank Gore stood third all-time in rushing yards behind only Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton. And yet, during his career, he was rarely spoken on as an all-time great, because his greatness didn't spike, it accumulated. Frank Gore is what happens when reliability lasts longer than hype. Number 1, Marquise Colston, New Orleans Saints. Marquise Colston didn't sneak into greatness, he built it slowly, piece by piece, while nobody was watching. Coming out of Hofstra, the league didn't know what to do with him. Too big to be a receiver, too fluid to be a tight end. This alone dropped him to the 7th round. Teams didn't pass on him because he lacked ability. They passed because he didn't fit a clean label. From his rookie year, though, it was obvious New Orleans found something rare. Colston didn't win with speed, he won with positioning. He understood leverage better than most defenders covering him. He knew how to shield the ball with his body, how to sit in zones, how to create space without needing separation that showed up on film. Drew Brees trusted him completely, and trust is the most valuable currency in football. When plays broke down, when timing collapsed, when defenses disguised coverage, Colston was still there. 3rd and 7, red zone, 2-minute drill. He was the receiver Brees needed, not the one that he marketed. 6 1,000-yard seasons, multiple double-digit touchdown years, a cornerstone of the most prolific offense ever, a Super Bowl champion, 0 Pro Bowls. That's not an opinion, it's an indictment of how the league values flash over function. Marquise Colston didn't just contribute to the Saints' success, he stabilized it. Remove him and that era looks completely different. Underrated doesn't mean forgotten, it means underappreciated. If you watch these players live, you already know. If I miss someone, drop their name in the comments, and if you want football stories told with real context and real depth, make sure to subscribe to 6 Past 6 Sports.